Welcome to Awaken with Sulkina, a space where we dive deep into soul growth, quantum manifesting, and spiritual awakening. I'm your host, Sulkina, and I'm here to guide you through the beautiful, messy, transformational journey of waking up to who you truly are. Each week, we'll explore the shifts, the challenges, and the miracles that come with awakening. Your soul is here to evolve, and you're not meant to do it alone. So let's walk this path together. Welcome to Awaken with Sulkina. And we have a very special guest today. I'm so excited to welcome my friend and fellow practitioner and healer in the spiritual space, Jericha. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. You're like my first
Hi,
guest.
Sakina. Yay!
I
That's
was
the biggest
saying how I've
compliment.
rebranded like 50,000 times. And so you're like the first guest on like the seventh rebrand. So still special.
Yay! Happy to be here.
Yeah. Well,
We also just haven't connected in a long time, so
I know. So I worked with you like a year ago and
yep.
so much changed when I worked with you. So I'm
Love
excited
to
to,
hear
yeah, so I'm
it.
excited to kind of talk about this topic of brain heart coherence and getting out of survival mode, which is also something that I learned at the Joe Dispenza retreat. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, like I really love everything that you share about the subconscious mind and like healing from within and like doing the deep inner work, but not just mindset work, but it's really somatic, right? So it's really
Yes.
getting to the deep rooted beliefs in your body. Cause I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. Like that's where your
Yeah.
emotions live.
Well, and your emotions are 80% of your life experience, so
Yeah.
you want to be working with those.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so before we get right into it, maybe you want to introduce yourself a little bit and like what brought you to this work in the first place.
Yeah, okay. This is always a loaded question because I have such a complicated past. So, okay, let's go back to how I first was introduced to like the subconscious mind and everything. So, I had a business 5 years ago, brand and website design. So, not completely related at all to what I'm doing now. And it was in that business that I started to realize that your mind and your brain create your entire reality and create all of your results because I was in a position where I was wanting to hit new levels of success, whether it was financially or building my platform or more freedom, whatever it was, that I realized like, why am I having such a difficult time hitting these new levels of success? And that was kind of where I was introduced to the subconscious mind and the power of mindset and how your thoughts create your reality and all of that. And then I started to take some like accredited coursework and training on the subconscious mind and the nervous system and neuroplasticity, like all these different things, and started to absolutely just fall in love with the brain and obsess with it. And it also was a gateway into me healing a lot of my past because I come from a very complex trauma past. Just with my upbringing and some experiences I went through as a child, narcissistic mother. My father was a drug addict, just like a bunch of different things that contributed to a lot of my childhood trauma. So I started kind of healing myself. And then I realized that there was this really big connection between personal life and business life. And that was something I didn't realize when I first started a business, is that the two are completely connected. You can't grow your business if you're avoiding the personal things going on in your life because it all lives within your mind and your body. And whatever you're trying to achieve in business or in any endeavor is going to be directly correlated to the things that have happened to you in your personal life. And so I just became obsessed with the brain and wanted to help people feel better because I spent so much of my life like I had chronic anxiety, depression with suicidal ideation, a lot of self-doubt. Like I always knew I had these really, really big dreams, but I was never able to actually act on them or achieve them. And when I started learning about the brain and the nervous system, I realized like this is where it all lies. This is the power. And I just want to help other people do the same.
Yeah, there's so much that I want to unpack too. Like even hearing about your past, I think it already answers a lot of question in the sense that a lot of people usually think that people that come into the spiritual awakening journey or want to start inner work or healing, they don't really think about people coming from really heavy pasts, right? Because they think like we already have it half easy. Like, sure, we go through, maybe job loss or like heartbreak, but you had the thought to want to be greater than your environment, greater than your body and your mind. And like sometimes when you're in that space, it's so easy to just play victim.
Yep.
Yeah. So for people that are stuck in that victim mode, how can they even start to get out of that victim survival mode? I'm interrupting the episode real quick, but if you're trying to manifest your specific person but still feel stuck in the same old story, it's time to go deeper. You cannot manifest a new version of them if you're still holding on to the old version of you. That's exactly why I created Forgive and Recreate Your SP. This is my transformational workshop to help you release the past, shift your energy, and finally become the version of you who receives the love you've been desiring. We're not chasing, we never chase our specific person. We are going to heal on a deep level. If you're ready to stop repeating the same cycles and finally create a brand new story for yourself and your specific person, this is your invitation. Join me inside this workshop. I would love to have you in there. You'll find all the link in the show notes. And now back to the episode.
So when it comes to victim mode, I think that you just kind of have to make the decision for yourself. I think that when you're in victim mode, no one can do anything for you. It's kind of like, when someone, let's say, is struggling with addiction and the people around them are like trying to help them, trying to help them, trying to help them. And it's like, you can't do anything. Like they have to make that decision themselves to actually want to do better and want to heal. And I think that that's the same with victim mode is you kind of just have to make that decision for yourself that you want better. But when it comes to survival mode, sorry, what did you ask me about survival mode?
No, I was just basically saying, like, those people that are stuck in survival mode or they're stuck in this victim mode of like, why me, why me? It's like, how can they get out of that? Like, what is the first step? I guess you kind of answered that. Like, you have to want to get
Yeah.
out of that space. And really, nobody can force you to do the work. Like, it
Yep.
has to come from you. Like, it has to be your own willingness to
Yep.
do the work. And I think like awareness is not enough, right? Because I have
Yep.
people around me that are aware and I feel like they've been aware for a really long time, but it's like things don't change. And so maybe we can go into what does it actually mean to change? Like we always hear that we have to change on a subconscious level. And so after being aware, like, what do we do? Like, what's the next step to actually change? Oh my God. The amount of questions I get of people just asking how, like, how? Like, I have this
Yeah.
wound, but like, how? Like, what do I do?
So for me, okay, when I first started this work and when I first got into the subconscious mind, I only learned about mindset. And I was like, hey, I want to change. I got to do the affirmations. Okay, I want to change. I got to do the hypnotherapy, like all these different mindset tools. And because of my past, my very complex trauma past, my nervous system was in a chronic state of fight or flight, just survival mode in general. And so I realized that, and also like bioindividuality is obviously things what someone should start with might be different than what the person next to them should start with. But all in all, I believe everybody should start with the body because it's 80% of your experience. So the nervous system makes up 80% of your life experience and the mind makes up 20%. And this kind of goes into brain heart coherence, but the heart and the your brain are constantly sending signals to each other. And the heart sends more, it communicates more with the brain than the brain does with the heart. So you want to start with the body. So, like little things, like my absolute favorite way when I'm feeling really overwhelmed or I just know that I'm in a very dysregulated state, AKA in survival mode, is humming because you're vocal toning and you're stimulating your vagus nerve, which is the key pathway from the heart to the brain. So, very little things. You can do humming, you could slow down your breathing, you could Maybe do some swaying and like just hold your hand on your heart and say like I am safe. Like I think just starting with the body and starting small, especially if you've never really done this type of stuff before, I think starting small is really big because you could overwhelm your system. And I think that a lot of people, I mean, especially with today's day and age and our technology and TikTok and all of that, everyone's dopamine is just way out of whack. And they want quick results and they want quick validation and all of this. And I think that this work comes, is you have to be patient with it. It's a process. And so I think starting small would be best because you have to kind of like build that safety within your system in order to, it's kind of like habits. Like you're not going to start the new year with like 50 new habits and like you're not going to the gym at all and you're like, yeah, I'm going 7 days a week for the next 6 months. Like you're going to fall off track. It's too overwhelming. You need to
Yeah.
start small. But I think starting with the body all in all.
Yeah, like I've been on a health journey since January. And I mean, that's a good example because I didn't start doing everything overnight because I knew that I would overwhelm myself and then just fall off, right? Like I just started with quitting sugar. And then 5 months later, now, 4 months later, I am going to start doing yoga, but I'm also going to
Yep.
start like just 7 days, like I don't even want to overwhelm myself with like 30 days. And the same with
Yep.
a meditation practice. I'm not going to
Yep.
overwhelm myself and say that I'm going to meditate every single day for 365 days because I just think that that's going to be too much for me. And
Yep.
I can just keep going every 5 days or like every 10 days. And I love giving myself a challenge. I don't know what it is, but I'm like, if I tell myself that I'm going to do this for 7 days, I'm like, I better crush it. Like, I'm going to do it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yep. I also think too, consistency is a really important topic to talk about when it comes to healing because we're told with everything in life, whether, you're posting online, be consistent, whether you're meditating, be consistent, whether whatever it is. Consistency for everybody looks different though, because consistency for one person might actually cause overwhelm in your nervous system trying to be the same consistent as them, right? So consistency looks different for everyone. And I think being able to tune into your body and how it's feeling while you're doing these like consistent habits or behaviors is going to tell you what consistency means for you. And that was a really big thing for me because being in the entrepreneur space, I would always listen to these business coaches who were like, you have to stay consistent. No one's going to trust you if you're not consistent. You have to post X times a week. And then I realized that, like, with my creative flow, my consistency doesn't look like theirs. And then I was entering a state of forcing, and then I was entering survival mode. And yeah, so I think consistency is just, you have to be careful when you hear that word.
Okay, so before we talk about brain heart coherence in detail, let's talk about the signs of somebody with incoherent brain and heart. So, like, what are some of the signs that someone is in survival mode if it's not like a clear sign? Like, are there any subtle signs, things that they might think or things that they might feel that actually means that they are in survival?
Overthinking is one. If you're constantly overthinking or like having a difficult time making decisions, or you're overthinking your decisions, or even like if you're overthinking a relationship or anything like that, overthinking your next move in business, whatever it is, overthinking is a really big one. A really big one is feeling guilty resting. That not like a lot of, especially in today's day and age, everyone's like and this was my biggest lesson in what I call 3 months of isolation that I did a couple months ago. So feeling guilty resting, if you're like, hey, I have 2 hours to do nothing, and you actually are like feeling guilty for it, you're in survival mode. Feeling emotions like fear, but but it can be subtle fear. It doesn't have to be fear like you're being chased by a bear. Like you're like, oh my God, I need to get out of here. Like it doesn't need to be extreme fear. It can be fear of like, I'm afraid of this conversation because I don't know what they're gonna say, or I'm afraid of taking this next move in business. Like it can be subtle fear. I also think avoiding things means you're in survival mode. A lot of people are, even procrastination. Like if you're procrastinating doing something and you think like, because I feel like some people might think this, they're holding off on doing it and they're like, well, I'm not in survival mode because I'm not feeling like the depression or the anxiety or whatever it is, but procrastination means you're in survival mode because if you weren't in survival mode, you would be acting on those things. Just anything undesirable, honestly. If you're like feeling or thinking something that doesn't like make you feel good, that means you're in survival mode.
Yeah, I think also like just that clear misalignment. It's like I want something, but what is
Yep.
stopping me? And that is really frustrating, right? I think when I worked with you last year, I had said that. I was like, I want it, but I don't know why I'm not going for it. And I don't know why I'm not doing it. And I
Yep.
know what I have to do, but I can't seem to do it. Or I'll do it like 1 or 2 days and then I'll
Yep.
just fall off. And that was so frustrating. And it's almost like a worse place to be. And again, this is when you truly learn, the true art of like forgiving yourself and being kind to yourself and giving yourself grace, but also standing firm. Because what
Yep.
I learned after the Joe Dispenza retreat was I had to give myself a little bit of tough love, that there was a lot of things that I wanted, but I wasn't going after them because I had a lot of fear and doubts. And I was sort of masking it with like, oh, I'm just going to be kind with myself and I'm going to take it easy and it's okay. But really, when I got honest with myself and I went to the root of it, I'm like, no, I'm actually lying to myself. And I think a
Yep.
big part of healing is you have to be radically honest. Like, if you
Yep.
are not ready for that, just don't even go on the journey because you have to look at all parts of you, and
Yep.
this is why I think it helps to have a guide or a coach or a mentor. I remember you were the one that kind of, you know, made me realize a lot of shame that I was holding with myself and like money. And I'm like, I didn't realize that, and I'm actually kind of
Yep.
getting goosebumps talking about this because that was a really big realization for me. I was like, no, I don't. Of course, I don't carry shame about all these things, right? But then
Yep.
when you really have somebody that can hold space for you that way is when you actually realize like, okay, I might be holding some of these emotions, but it's okay because you can work through them and you can kind of do the work to think the opposite or feel the opposite and get through it.
I also think too, something that I'm really passionate about in terms of, getting a guide or a coach, whatever, whoever it is our brains and bodies are so smart and will do anything to protect us. And sometimes bringing that a subconscious belief into your conscious awareness can be really difficult when you're trying to do it yourself because you can only tune into so much. But when you have a guide or a coach or somebody, they're able to witness the patterns that they're seeing you say or seeing you feel or seeing you do, and they're able to be like, hey, this pattern is actually coming up and it's probably from a belief surrounding this. And I remember with you specifically a very big belief where we uncovered and you were like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. But it's like your body and brain are in so much um or what am I saying? Your body and brain's biggest desire is to keep you safe. And so if bringing a belief to your conscious awareness for you to change could threaten that safety, it's going to be really hard to do so. So that's one of the reasons why I value coaching and like partnerships with somebody, because I will be the first to say you absolutely have all the power within you to figure it out yourself. You don't need anyone. But there's power in being able to fast track things by having someone in your space who, yeah, like you said, not only can hold space for you, but also can help you uncover the things that are not in your conscious awareness.
So, what do you think is one of the major misconception that people have about healing the brain and the heart? Like something that they keep doing and it actually keeps them stuck longer and it doesn't help.
Okay, so a few things. The first one is thinking it's just mindset work. Oh, all I have to do is the visualization. All I have to do is think positively. Now, I do think the think positively one is really starting to be debunked. A lot of people are like, that's toxic positivity, it doesn't work. But the mindset work alone, I think, is the biggest misconception because we hear subconscious mind, but also the nervous system is connected to the subconscious, right? The threat detector that sets off our smoke alarm, internal smoke alarm essentially is coming from the subconscious. So we hear subconscious and we think brain, but subconscious also lives in your body. And just like I said earlier, mindset work is 20% of the work. And that was my biggest mistake for a really long time was like, and I'm thankful I didn't give up because I was doing all these tools and saying to myself, why are they working for other people and not working for me? And it was because my specific situation was that my body needed the love and care. And then another misconception that I have that I don't hear anyone else talk about when it comes to the body is this idea of retraining your nervous system. Something that when I started nervous system work and I was being told you need to retrain your nervous system, I actually now interpret that as like a toxic positivity mentality because you think it means to just flip the negative into a positive. But what it actually means to heal your nervous system, can I swear?
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Is to fucking feel your feelings. And you can't you can't heal your nervous system if you're just trying to retrain it into something positive. And that is where a lot of the like talk about embodiment comes. Well, it's like embody the feelings you want to feel, embody the identity you want to feel or identity that you want to be. And that is the idea of like retraining your nervous system. But you don't want to retrain it, you want to release because your nervous system only has a 100% capacity. And if it's filled with like 75% negative emotions from all your past trauma, it only has 25% left to actually experience the positive experiences and emotions you want. So it can't hold all of that retraining that you're trying to do. You have to actually release it. And that starts with feeling your feelings. So I think that that's just kind of another big misconception is just like retrain it. All you have to do is just feel the positive feelings and flip the negative. And you have to start with feeling your feelings.
And let's get into that. How do we feel our feelings? Because it's not just about sobbing on the floor for like
Yeah.
15 minutes, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there is a way to actually acknowledge and let these feelings come up in your body.
So for me, it started with giving myself almost like a body meditation. So we sit down to do a meditation where we close our eyes and we try and sit in silence, right? But for me, I started off with being like, okay, what am I feeling in my body right now and where is it? I'm feeling heavy in my chest right now. Why is this coming up? And just kind of feeling into the body without over intellectualizing it. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong when it comes to feeling your feelings is they try and think, okay, what is this feeling? Where's it coming from? Why is it stuck in my body? And they start over intellectualizing it. And what people don't realize is when you start over intellectualizing, that is actually your cue to stop doing that because it's your brain's way of avoiding feeling your feelings. So for me, again, it just started tuning into like the sensations I was feeling. Then I started doing somatic practices like punching and like punching the air. Like I wasn't punching anything, but you can punch a pillow. But like I was punching the air, and then all of a sudden I started to break down. So it was just like you don't need to know what you're holding to release them. You just need to actually like tune into your body and become aware of how you're actually feeling, where you're feeling it, and then like moving your body in a way that it intuitively feels like it has to.
I completely agree with that. And one thing that I wanted to say that I forgot earlier was I don't know if you've heard of this thing called havening. It's like a nervous system tool or like a nervous system healing technique. And it's basically just like rubbing from the top of your shoulders to your arm. And apparently, like you have to do both hands like
Oh,
that.
is it sweeping? I've seen people like sweep,
So it kind of looks like this.
like a bilateral thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
And so apparently it activates like both sides of your brain, similar to EMDR.
Okay.
And that really also tells your body that, you're safe in this moment. Because I guess when you're in survival mode, it's like that fight or flight, right? Like your body is
Yep.
just waiting or bracing for impact and just waiting for the next worst thing to happen, even though nothing really out in your external reality is going to get you in that way. But it's just
Yep.
sort of like our body's way of, like you said, protecting us.
But even other states too, like procrastination, freeze. Well, procrastination is freeze, but like other states like freeze or shut down or things like that are also survival mode. They're just like deeper states of survival mode.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about feeling your feelings too, because I agree with that. What keeps us stuck is the stories, I think. And sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, yes, of course, it is helpful to understand where it comes from. But I think if we do it too much, like if we brain dump too much, you really don't get anywhere, right? It's like,
Yep.
it doesn't matter where it comes from, what age you were. What matters is you're feeling it right now in the present moment in this lifetime. It's like somebody rejects you, somebody abandons you. It's the easier way to blame the other person and again, make up a story like, I can't believe this person did this to me, and how dare this person leave me, and then start with your affirmations of, I am chosen and I'm loved. But it's again not addressing the feeling of abandoned, right? Like feeling abandoned and feeling rejected, like getting to the root of it.
Well, and let's also not forget to mention that talking about your feelings doesn't mean you're feeling them. And this may be a controversial opinion, but I don't believe in talk therapy. I think it's the biggest waste of time because talking about things like people will be like one of my very first clients actually, she had chronic anxiety and she had spent years in therapy, and when she came to me she was just kind of like, I don't understand why it won't go away. And I feel like honestly talk therapy can be a gateway into making people almost feel like they're unfixable because they're not given the proper tools. Like your body, again, 80% of the picture doesn't speak the same language as your brain. And so it can't actually heal through speaking about your problems and over intellectualizing them.
I was watching Oprah's podcast episode with, my God, what is his name? Michael Pollan, the author of How to Change Your Mind. So,
Hmm.
is that what his name is? I'm sure it is.
I don't know. I don't
I
know.
trust my brain.
I don't read personal development books.
Okay, well, that's good. They were talking to Bob Parsons, the founder of GoDaddy, who was like a Vietnam War veteran. And he was basically talking about how after he came back, talk therapy just made everything worse. Like
Hmm.
it just didn't help him at all. Like it actually, if anything, it re-traumatized him. And they like
Yep.
that whole episode was specifically for psychedelics, which is again, I think a way to come back to the body, right? Because you're kind of feeling your feelings and you're just letting things, flow and like come through. And so that was, I think, like the first time that I heard somebody on such a big platform like that saying like, I don't like talk therapy, like I actually hate it and
Yeah.
it made me worse. And it didn't help him at all. And he said like when he really went deep into his subconscious mind with plant medicine was truly when he was able to break through like everything, like the pain, and he described it as like a coming home to himself.
Hmm. Yep.
What does a coherent brain and heart feel like? And maybe we should also talk about this, but like why does our brain and our heart have to be on the same page? Like why is mindset work not enough? Because isn't everything the mind? Like don't our thoughts create our reality?
The second question you asked me, please repeat that. What exactly is, oh,
Yeah,
why do they
so
need to be on the same page?
yeah, like why does your
Okay.
brain and your heart have to be on the same page? Why can't it just be one or the other?
So your brain and heart need to be on the same page because they're two different operating systems that don't speak the same language. And so, but they're also the two operating systems that create your reality, right? And yes, thoughts create your reality, but thoughts also create emotions. And it doesn't matter what your reality looks like if your emotions are negative, because that's what you're gonna experience. So brain heart coherence is getting both the brain and the body on the same page, and it's essentially aligning your heart rhythms with your brain waves. And it's kind of like if you were to have a cord, let's say a phone cord, and it's all tangled up, well, the electricity flowing through that cord, because let's not forget we are full of electricity, The electricity flowing through that cord is going to be chaotic. But if you have a straight cord, it's going to flow freely. It's going to just flow and be in a flow state. And that's essentially what you're aiming for with brain heart coherence, because that means that your heart rhythms and your brain waves are now on the same page, and they're in flow together. And again, the reason it's important is because you could be doing the mindset work, be reprogramming your beliefs, but if your body doesn't feel safe holding that reality, or your body doesn't agree with those beliefs because it doesn't speak the same language as the mind, you're going to not have that coherence. And then your energy is going to be off, because your energy comes from your identity, which is your mind, but also your nervous system state. And so then that's going to affect the electromagnetic field around you, and you're going to have a hard time attracting things for you because your whole system is not open to receive. And that's why I'm so passionate about brain heart coherence, because when everything is on the same page, your entire system has received the signal and the permission slip that you are safe. So now you are open to receive. You are energetically open to actually receive the things that you want. Whereas if your mind's in alignment with the beliefs, but your body doesn't feel safe holding it, some part of your system has said you are not safe. So now you are energetically not open.
Isn't that amazing that we have control over that, right? For people that are listening, and, maybe some of them are like, but I thought all I had to do was say 10,000 affirmations, because I do get a lot of those questions as well. Is like, can I just do 10,000 affirmations? I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I have manifested things with 10,000 affirmations, but did they last? No, they didn't.
hmm
It was temporary. It's kind of like a fun game. So it's like, I don't want to dismiss it as well. It works, but you cannot run away from doing the work. Like, I have manifested, you know, getting a text, and like I have manifested vacations and stuff, but it's like I was still the same person in those circumstances. And that's when I realized, like, no, I want to live a good life. Like, I want to feel good. It's not just about getting things outside of me. It's really like I want to live a great life, and I want to be at peace as well within. Like, I don't want to wake up anxious, and I don't want to wake up, having my mind thinking 10,000 different ways of how things are going to go wrong. Like, it just didn't feel good to me.
Well, and also the life you want, you don't want it for a day. You want it sustained. And I'll tell a personal story from when I started to really get everything in alignment with myself, was my money experience. So I had manifested my largest income month in business. But then guess what? I wasn't incoherent and I couldn't sustain it. So the next month I fell right back down. So it's like the things that you want and the life you want and the material things that you don't want it just for a day or just for a month. You want to be able to sustain it. You want that to become your complete reality. And things can't become your complete reality if your system thinks it's a threat, if your system is not open to receive it. Getting back into alignment with the brain heart coherence is what's going to allow you to sustain it, because your system is now receptive. It's open to what you want because it thinks it's safe.
I think what's interesting too is like when you share some of these practices, they're like, that's it. Like, I shared with my friends, and they're like, that can be it. And I'm like, no, actually, that's it. Like, that's what you have to do. You just have to be consistent, and you have
Yep.
to show up for yourself, right? It's like,
Yep.
it doesn't have to be the same technique or like the same thing every day, but you have to show up for yourself in whatever way, majority of the time, right?
Yep.
And I think people think healing is like this complicated thing where you have to journal 5 pages and you have to cry so much, and it has to be like this really difficult and hard thing. And yes, I can honor those experiences as well because I've gone through that. But I also realize that it can happen in a split second as well. Like, one of the stories that I love is Michael Singer that he shares in his book, The Surrender Experiment, about his awakening. And it's like nothing outside of him changed. He literally had a conversation with a friend and realized that his mind was racing. And in that moment, he had an awakening that he was like, I'm not my mind. Like, I am a soul and I'm listening to my mind, but nothing crazy happened. But that moment, that split second of awareness was enough for him to go on his spiritual journey. And he is Michael Singer. His book Untethered Soul and Surrender Experiment like helped me so much during my journey. And so I'm also telling people that it doesn't have to look like chaos. It can, of course, but sometimes it's what you said at the beginning of this episode. It's a decision that you make, and
Mhm.
it's just that split second awareness of, okay, I'm gonna change and I'm ready to change and I'm gonna do this.
Yep, absolutely. And just to, because I had a thought that came up when you were talking about the surrender experiment and how he was saying nothing in his external reality changed, but internally it did. And so a
Mhm.
few months ago, this would be almost 5 months ago now, I took what I call 3 months in isolation. It was completely unintentional. And
I wanted to ask you about this. I'm so glad you brought it
yeah.
up. Tell us everything. Give us the tea.
Okay. So from the beginning, okay, this is where it started, and this is where I believe the universe really intervened because I had gone, if you're not watching the video version, Silkina's literally like propped
I'm
up
like,
with her arm, like I'm listening.
I'm leaning in. Go ahead.
So I started my journey with this new business with the, brain health coaching and things like that back in 2023. And I built my platform in 2023. I was in a flow state in 2023. Everything was going great. And then 2024 came and I started to feel very out of alignment. I was like, something's not right. I didn't feel good creating content, just a bunch of different things. And then I started to kind of narrow it down to the platform that I was putting my energy to. And I'm like, okay, I don't really align with TikTok. I don't even like short form content anymore, just as a consumer, let alone a creator. And I'm going to stick to the things that I like, which is podcasting and writing. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna delete TikTok for now. It's gonna be great, blah, blah, blah. A couple weeks into that, um, I still wasn't really feeling the best. And then the universe intervened because I got the flu, E. coli, and pneumonia within 10 days, back to back, within 10 days.
What?
And yeah, and so I was bedridden for 2 weeks straight. Couldn't even, I think my screen time every day was like 20 minutes. Like I couldn't even look at an electronic for 2 whole weeks. And then when I started to feel better, I was like, okay, back to the grind. No, I ended up having mental breakdown after mental breakdown after mental breakdown. And I'm like, something's not right. I can't do this. And then I had this intuitive thought and it said, Jericha, take 3 months to do nothing. And at that time, I'm like, that's fucking crazy. 3 months. I'm not a millionaire. Like, I gotta make money. 3 months, that's insane. But my gut just kept saying, Jericha, 3 months, don't do anything, don't do anything, don't do anything. So I put all my work on hold. The only thing I was doing was I was still serving the clients that had already booked with me, but I wasn't marketing. I wasn't marketing to get clients. I wasn't creating content, whether it was the podcast, the blog, TikTok, nothing. I did nothing for 3 months. And it was in those 3 months and in the silence that I actually started to hear you're holding on to grief. You're holding on to anger. You're hustling too much. You're not meant to hustle this much. Just a bunch of I was getting all the answers that I had been looking for almost a year, but I couldn't hear it because I was constantly in survival mode. I was constantly hustling and hustling and hustling and thinking that I had to put all the action in. And then because I healed a lot of these emotions and I started to actually, this is where I started to really learn about brain heart coherence and the power of it. And it's kind of what created what I call, excuse me, my undo method. Because I had entered this state where I started to release my emotions and actually get my mind and body on the same page. And then I started receiving everything I had been trying to receive for an entire year in 3 months by doing 70% less of the work. And it was because my whole body was now actually open to receive it. Whereas before I was hustling and hustling and hustling and putting all this action in, but didn't matter how much fucking action I put in, my body was not open to actually receive it. So I couldn't receive it. And so back to the Michael Singer comment, I remember it was nearing the end of the 3 months in isolation where I was feeling the best I'd ever felt in my entire life. And I had manifested all these different things without actually putting in any action. And that's not to say that action is not important, but it's not the big picture here. Was I was sitting at the park, and mind you, it's like winter, but it was like a warmer day. So I'm just like chilling on the bench, looking around, and I started to tear up of gratitude because I, so this, actually, this moment wasn't near the end. It was probably in the middle of my isolation. And but it was after I had started releasing all of these emotions that I didn't even know I had. I had no idea I held on to grief. No idea, but I did. And I was sitting on this park bench and I started to tear up with tears of gratitude because I was looking around and I was like, nothing yet in my reality has significantly changed, but I feel so fucking good. I feel like a new person. And then within those next few weeks, I started to actually call in the things that I had wanted. And it just really goes to show that it's all internal. Like your reality cannot change if you internally, not just in terms of survival mode and my situation with like the hustling and hustling, but you have to feel grateful for the life that you have now in order to actually change your life and want and receive the one that you actually really desire.
And I wish that people would actually listen to that again because manifesting is alignment. It
Yes.
doesn't make sense to force and chase, even like the idea of doing things like, writing down your desires 55 times or like 33 times. It's like, that's not even the point. The
Yep.
point is you have to become the person that receives your desires because I don't believe that the universe would ever say no to your desires if you are truly in alignment with it.
Yep.
And I know exactly that feeling of just like being so present and yeah, tearing up. And I mean, reading that book for me, like it made me sob because it just reminded me of like the beauty of being so connected with yourself and not fighting anything in your external reality. I really like that story of
Yep.
you just listening to your nudges because that was also you surrendering and just not fighting what was coming up, right? It's like, okay, I guess if you want me to do this, it's like the little whispers from the soul, I guess.
Yep. So, okay, a crazy story. I know you're going to appreciate this because it's very spiritual. When I had E. coli, worst stomach, 10 out of 10, do not fucking recommend anybody gets E. coli. The worst pain I've ever felt in my life.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. Anyways, the night that I had it the worst, when my stomach pain was the worst, I managed to end up falling asleep for like 2 hours. My brain, this is just a side note, but the pain was so bad that I dreamt about the pain for the entire 2 hours I slept because I think my brain literally could not focus on it. But this is where the like spiritual story comes in. I had a dream during those entire 2 hours that little angels were doing acupuncture on my belly. And I woke up after those 2 hours feeling, let's say, 60% better than I did when I fell asleep. But that was when my intuition
Mhm.
started to actually be really strong. And I've even had recent intuitive nudges in like the past few weeks where I listened to it and it ended up being like best case scenario that I wanted. And it was because I listened to that intuitive nudge. And my friend, who's also very intuitive, was like, holy crap, Jericha, like your intuition is so strong. And I genuinely believe that those angels were fixing my intuition for me because it was after E. coli that I started listening to hearing the nudges loud and clear and actually listening to them. Whereas I struggled my whole life listening to my intuition because I thought that, if it did make logical sense, it was not safe to do. so I didn't listen to my intuition. But yeah, I had that crazy dream and it was like the little baby angels. They're like kind of chubby. I don't remember what they're
Arabs.
called. Yes, and they were doing acupuncture on my belly, and I genuinely think they were healing my intuition.
No, they definitely were.
Yeah.
That's insane. I guess like a similar surrender story that I had when I was at the Joe Dispenza retreat. I'm sorry, I'm not like in love with him, although maybe I am. I keep bringing him up.
You're
No,
not in love with Joe Dispenza?
I am in
Hello.
love.
Okay.
I love that you were so real for that. You're like, you're not in love with him. I
I
am
was like,
in
who
love
the
with
hell are you? Didn't you do a meditation challenge or
him.
something from his?
Yeah, literally. And when he was right in front of me, because I was front row, I was like,
Yeah,
I love you. Like, I love
you're
you.
real.
And my cousin's like
Like Chris, well,
next to
Kristen
me, like,
Such on TikTok, she calls
yeah.
him Daddy Joe.
Yeah, and guess what? My cousin calls him Daddy Joe. And so when I was like, by the way, this girl on TikTok calls him Daddy Joe, she's like, what? I was like, yeah, did you come up with it? Or like, where did I hear
Yeah.
that? I'm like, I guess it's around because people just call him
Yeah.
Daddy Joe. Um, what was I gonna say? Yeah, so during his retreat, like one of the things that happened to me, and I'm sharing this story because you were talking about the baby angels like healing you, but I was doing his meditation called the generous present moment, and I went
Okay.
really deep, and I just like surrendered so much. Like I really just like let go of my thoughts and I truly became nothing in that moment. But I really felt what he describes as relaxed in the heart and awake in the brain. So it's like I was kind of sleepy, but I wasn't. So I was fully aware. Like if he had told me to bring up feelings of joy and gratitude, I was aware enough to kind of conjure up those feelings in my
Yep.
body. But what happened was for some reason, like my hands started moving like that, like kind of like I can't even explain it because it hasn't happened since. And I couldn't even try to create it if I wanted to because I don't understand it. But it's like both my hands just started moving and I just started doing this and like, from the bottom to the top, I'm just like, I guess clearing myself or like cleansing myself.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was front row, so I was like, does he think I'm okay? Because I was like, I don't know what's happening to me. But I could really tell like Silkina was trying to intercept, like, stop doing what you're doing because
Mm.
like what's happening, like this is weird. But I could also feel my soul just saying surrender, right? Like I don't know what this was, but I think like after that experience and like integrating it, I'm like, I think I was cleansing my own energy. And maybe like it was almost like some type of soul healing because I don't know how to do that, obviously. Like I've never
Yep.
thought about that. And I still can't do it, right now, like consciously. And even if I get into that same state that I did, it hasn't happened, right? So it's like, I guess it was in that moment. I'm not sure what I channeled. And again, not trying to intellectualize it. Like, I don't even need to understand. But all I know is that truly after that meditation, which was like about 90 minutes, I felt like clear. Like, I felt like a load was off of my shoulders. And so sometimes we don't even realize how guided we are and how we literally have a soul and spirit team on the other side that we don't even
Yep.
think about. And again,
Absolutely.
like sometimes we don't think about it because we're just stuck on mindset. Like we're not even in the
Yep.
body.
Well, the body is where you can actually connect with the universe. Like it's not your mind.
Yeah, facts. Like honestly, facts. Okay, so I guess like the last question that I would like to ask you, and it's a question that I ask every single guest, although you're my first one, so on the podcast.
That was so real.
I'm sorry. I laugh because I'm just like This is literally, I've changed my podcast name like 3,000 times. But anyway, the first guest that's going to answer this question is who or what has been the most inspiring teacher for you? Like whether it's a person or an experience or even an element, like anything of that sort.
So I believe that people come into your life to either teach you a lesson or to show you what's possible. And I would say that my best friend, Haley, is probably has been since my spiritual awakening back in 2020, maybe 2019 actually. She has, because she's always been very connected to her higher self. She's achieved a lot of really, really great things. And she is a true embodiment of only acting when you feel inspired and being able to see massive success from that. She's had a record deal with Universal. She has 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Like she has achieved a lot of external success through very not she works hard but at very little action because she works smarter not harder, and I think that she has been a really big she's been the biggest person in my life that has shown me what's possible and what our natural state is supposed to be, where we're not supposed to like be hustling ourselves to the ground and working honestly a 9 to 5. Like that's not how our bodies are aligned to work these 9 to 5 jobs, and to just believe and know that you are like worthy of everything that you want without having to prove your value or without having to work for it, and that just inspired action is how you get the things that you want in life. And so she's also been there for me in terms of my big reminder when I fall into like old patterns. She's like, Jericha, you don't have to operate that way. You just have to trust the universe. And so I think definitely her.
Yeah, I think having friends that truly care about you is so important. And like sometimes I'm so thankful for it, even though my ego hates it. Like my
Yep.
friend who's also spiritual would be like, I think you're stuck in a story. And I'm like, so what? Like just let me tell the story. Or I'm like in the middle
Just
of
let
it
me
and
tell the
she's like,
story.
well, Tina, I think I'm like, God, okay, I know. Just let me go.
And I've always been that friend, even in high school when like I wasn't aware of the brain or, spirituality or anything like that. I've always been that friend that I was very blunt and upfront and honest, and they would hate me in the moment, but then 10 minutes later they'd be like, "You know what? I fucking appreciate you. Like I'm grateful for a friend like that."
No, always. And like you need that. You need
Yep.
somebody to, you know, keep you on track.
Yep. Absolutely.
Jericha, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can work with you. Oh, actually, another thing that I wanted to say was I love that you call your method undo because that really is what healing is. Like you're not trying to fix
Yes.
yourself or anything. You're literally, your essence is truth and love and joy and freedom and abundance. And you're just undoing the layers of conditioning.
Exactly. Well, and also I called it undo because I was tired of all the doing. It's just we're even when in the personal development space, we're told like, here's a hack to do this. If you're stuck in this, it's because of this, and here's the solution. And it's just we're constantly being thrown like different things that we need to do. And all you need to do is undo. You just have to, release those emotions, rewire the brain, and yeah. So my entire brand has been renamed Undo. So my podcast, that's where you can find me consistently every week, is my podcast. It's called Undo with Jericha Szlo. Um, you can also find me on Substack or my newsletter, which coincides with one another, which is linked on all my social platforms. You also can find me on TikTok. That I'm not consistent with that platform. I really only like to post on there when I feel inspired to. But it's at it's Jericha Szlo. But the podcast and my newsletter are the main things, and my website also is where you can find all my information. Work with me with my group coaching membership space, where I use the undo method to help you undo the patterns that are keeping you stuck. And my website is www.itsjerichaslow.com.
I love how your website is so aesthetic, but of course you're a designer.
I was, yeah.
Like I love the colors, I love the placements. It's like just so visually pleasing.
Yes, yeah. I was yeah, it helps definitely with the whole visual branding that I used to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Thank you so much for coming on.
Of course, thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye.